to welcome everybody to the start of the next 50 years of Ames Community College. We just finished 50, so by golly, now let's get on to the next 50 and go from there. So with that, I'll call the meeting to order, and let's all stand and to pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here, I'll get that out of the way.
Just rolling around
Okay. Looks like next up is to take a look at the agenda and see if there's any additions or deletions from the agenda. And Dr. B, I think you have a couple of things
changes, edits.
that we need to.
Yes. The Excellence at Ames, we are going to reschedule. Meg Spencer is out sick today, so we do want to go ahead and do the Learning Cube exercise, but we'll do it at another time. So today we will not have an Excellence at Ames. The executive session that we have on the agenda for personnel matters, we're adding personnel and real estate matters. And since at the bottom of your agenda, we always have that executive session is at the discretion of the board by Colorado Revised Statute, then you are, if you choose to move into executive session, it is for both personnel and real estate matters. Do you want us to table this when we get there or take it off the agenda at this time?
I guess just go ahead and go with it, see what happens.
Go with it, okay.
Yeah.
And that would be it, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, everybody, I think you've heard the corrections to the minutes or the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve it with the changes as Dr. B has recommended?
I'd move to approve as amended.
Okay, thank you, Lyle. Second. Thank you, Gene. Any discussion further? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So the agenda is set. Public comment. Where's our crack information? There she is. Okay.
Hi, no one registered for public comment today.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Laura. Now we have the consent agenda, and you all have it before you in your notebooks, so.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
I would request that we pull policy 42. I'd like to make an amendment to that.
You'd like to do, I'm sorry, Carol.
I would like to pull policy number 42 from the consent agenda.
Okay.
And
That's parliamentary procedure.
are we moving it to action?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we move that item to an action item? Is that what you're saying? Okay. Anything else?
One, policy 40-01.
I'm sorry, Trustee Hall, what?
40-01.
You want to do
I
what?
want to look at it. I just had one question about the number of days, whether or not that's statute or we just have, didn't catch that.
Okay.
That's all, I think.
I don't know how we do that. Do we pull that out and put it as a separate item?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll move 40-01 and move it to where? Action?
Action,
Yes.
Trustee Hout, is that right?
Yes.
yeah, and then 42 will move to action also.
Okay. Any other changes?
I move we approve the consent agenda as amended.
Okay, thank you, Carol. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Thank you, Mark. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So, opposed, no. That motion is carried.
Okay.
Now, board representatives, you're on. Sure, go ahead, Sonia.
Okay. All right, oops, excuse me. For the faculty accomplishments this last month, one of the really exciting things that a few of the Ames faculty members participated in is an exhibition featured at the Twainton Gallery at the Union Colony Civic Center in Greeley. It's titled Principled. It's actually a two-part, or the second part of a two-part show. The first one was called Elemental. Both shows were curated by Stephanie Newton, who's our art historian, and the director of the Ed Beatty Art Gallery. And then it was also featuring two faculty members' work. Dan Augenstein, who is a drawing and painting professor or adjunct instructor here at Ames, and then Colleen Martin, who's in the graphic design area. So both of those faculty members were featured. Also, we have another faculty member, John Schultz, who has been volunteering at the Greeley West High School a couple hours a week, tutoring immigrant students in math and basic arithmetic. And he also does geometry and algebra 2. And that's been very rewarding for John. Denise Pearson was the full-time faculty person. Oh wait, no, that's not what I have here. Sorry, excuse me. The next one actually is me. I thought I was going to have a little presentation, but I guess it's not there. I actually have some pieces featured at the Museum of Art in Fort Collins for the next 4 months, and the Fort Collins Museum has invited me to participate in a possible solo show at the museum next year, so I'm putting together a portfolio for that. The pieces that are in the gallery right now are kind of a sampling, so those will be up there, and I think that's about it.
And Sonia,
Yeah.
we have that
Right.
presentation actually in their board packet.
Oh,
So-
it's in
Yeah,
the board packet.
we got
Oh,
it.
for some reason I thought it would present
So
up
it's here,
there.
yeah.
But you see it, okay.
Yeah, right.
All
Yeah,
right,
we do have it in there.
excellent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do.
Good job.
Thank you. Okay.
Interesting. Fired women's boxes, is that?
Yes, well, I did a series of pieces based on my female friends' boxes, what they would look like. So they're called women's boxes. So they all have a specific name, like my best friend's Janine, she's 6'3", the piece is really tall. Yeah. So, you know, kind of, I have another friend who wears polka dots all the time, so her box is filled with polka dots.
Yeah, yeah. All right, how neat. Okay, let's see, now we got the Staff Association. Jump in there.
Thank you. I'm filling in for Nan today, and for the Ames Staff Association, we handed out 7 welcome kits to the new staff members as part of our new staff welcome program, which aims to increase awareness of ASA with new staff members as they come on board. We also would like to share some of the ripples from the month of November. Tom Griffin, geology instructor, Sophia Veldhusen, Spanish instructor, Dr. Mills, mathematics professor, Dave Matheson, instructor of AAA, Julie Hopkins, employee supplemental service in mathematics, Kyle Catterat in automotive, Holly Allen, staff executive, Andrea Rogers and Susan Alexander in IT, Michael Avers, network administrator in network and telecom services, Paul Lind and Kay McDonald in accounts payable. And one in particular we'd like to highlight would be Jill Sandin, staff associate for business and technology. And I'm going to have to put my glasses on for this one. Sorry.
That's okay, we understand. I understand anyway.
The nominator of Jill would like everyone to know what a fantastic person Jill is and what a phenomenal job Jill does for their department and their division. Jill is always going the extra mile to help with things in the department, and the result is that the students benefit first and foremost. Jill is selfless and kind, putting the interests of our students first. It is people like Jill that make Ames the top-rated institution that it is. And that concludes our report.
Any questions from the board? Okay, let's go on to the Students Association.
Good afternoon.
Boy, this guy has been busy, I'll tell you.
No comment. Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you, Dr. B, and the Board of Trustees for allowing us to show this space today. On behalf of student government and the Associated Students of Ames Community College, I'd like to welcome Trustee Jean O'Hara to the board. Welcome. Last semester, student government conducted student surveys to work through student concerns, and we met with food service to answer food options on all 4 campuses. One concern was to give students more food options for night classes and on the Greeley campus specifically. We're working together to promote and pilot an evening food option, which consists of adding new hours for students to get coffee and snacks, so those late hours students just have more options available to them. Student government also worked with IT to install a student use printer in Westview Lounge. I'm proud to report that it was completed before school even started this semester. So thank you to IT and specifically Matt Seawald for their hard work in making that happen. SGA has been supporting reduced cost bus passes through Greeley Evans Transit, and as of the end of fall semester, we had 115 students, and they used the bus passes 3,567 times.
Wow.
So that's just last fall semester, so that's a really great program we have going. Moving on to student activities and programs. The first 2 days of school, which is January 16th and 17th, student government, we had a prize wheel set up for students to win AIMS swag. We also had them sign up for volunteer opportunities and let them know about the opportunities that were available to them. We had 60 students sign up to volunteer, and we had over 100 students walk away with AIMS swag, a bumper sticker, and just some other, like a notebook and pencil, some other items that we thought they might be beneficial with. An event we have going on is the Human to Human, which is creating an inclusive civil community, understanding the impact of our personal stories. Excuse me. An interactive workshop will explore identity and the influence this has on our interactions and service to others. Thank you. Veronica Hippolito, Dean of Student Development and Community Engagement at Coconino Community College. This event is Friday, February 16th from 12 to 1:30 in Ed Beatty Theater. This didn't get added to the score calendar, but I just definitely wanted to mention it because I thought it was really important. We'll be offering vet zone training, which is for faculty, staff, and students, and they'll have an opportunity to become aware of with the student veteran culture that we have on campus. And it will be presented by Dan Turnbow, the Director of Student Veteran Services at UNC, and this event is Monday, February 19th from 1200 to 1330 hours in Ed Beatty room 123. So that's from 12 to 1:30 for all of us civilians. There was a Cupcakes and Compliments event that has been moved to March, so I'll say more about that when we're closer to that. And finally, I would like to express how excited we are for this semester. Not only are we planning many opportunities for students to maximize their student experience with event programming, but we are working and really advocating for students to promote their success here on campus. So once again, if anyone knows anyone that would like to volunteer or would like to volunteer themselves, please contact myself or our department and we can make arrangements. So thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay, well, thank you guys. That's very, very informative. I guess now we move on to President's Report, and Dr. B, you're on.
Wonderful, thank you. So today we'd like to start with Dr. Kish to give the academic affairs update, as well as spring 2018 enrollment, a specific workforce report, and a specific grants report.
Thank you, Dr. B. It's a little louder than the other room, isn't it?
A little bit.
So our classes, first of all, we're glad the students are excited. We're excited too. I know our faculty are working really hard, our staff are working really hard to create an awesome experience for you for this semester. One of the things the board I wanted to make you aware of is that there are developmental changes coming, and we will be presenting information to you in the next few months. There will be significant impact to the college, and as we do that presentation to you, we'll be able to let you know what that impact will be. But stay tuned, those are coming. Also, I wanted to let you know that our math faculty have been hard at work with the Center for Urban Education in partnership with the University of Southern California through a $1 million grant through the Ford and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, whereby they are looking at how do we actually implement state policy and make math changes at the state level a reality. So they will be here next week to do more investigation, and we're very excited about that work. Next up, what you've all been waiting for, or at least what our former trustee Wood was waiting for, is our increase of enrollment by 12% this semester. So nationally, I believe I told you at the last meeting that enrollment is down about 2% across the nation, and we're up 12%. We're very excited about that increase. Our classes are full. You should hear faculty. They said the entire classroom is full, and they're very excited about that. And so being able to serve an additional body of students is really fantastic. In concurrent enrollment, the increase there represents 6% of that increase. And I think that's important for you to know because as you're looking at the college population, concurrent enrollment is a growing, significant piece of that population. So you'll look at your report there. I think you have it in your packet. Looks like this. We have the breakdown of the students. Our student population is very similar to last semester, with 59% of our students female, 41% male, and 33% Hispanic. We also have an increase in our early college by 136%. Now, when you're dealing with small numbers, of course, the percentages are quite high. Windsor campus is up again, about 6%. Greeley is up about 6%. Online is up 18%. And our off-campus concurrent is 57%. In Loveland is up 3%. And then if you look towards the bottom, excuse me, one of the things that I think is really important for the board to note is that our full-time enrollment is up. That means that students are taking more courses and getting closer to completion quicker, and that's important for us. Are there any questions about enrollment at Ames for spring?
Oh, that's good.
Thank you. Nose is running. Thank you. No questions.
That looks good.
Wow.
No, that's what we want to see.
I was
Thank
really
you.
waiting so I could
blow your nose.
So well, we're really proud of everyone. We're proud of our the folks in our Student Affairs Division and our CCR Division, our deans, our chairs, our faculty, everyone who's making this a reality. So thank you to everyone in the audience for that display of increased enrollment.
I guess,
go ahead.
If I might, Deb, I'm sorry, Mark, it seems like quite a drop in Fort Lupton. I mean, is there some reason for that?
There is a bit of a reason. There are a few areas that have dropped. Part of that was from some changes in scheduling, and so we're able to correct those now and get those back up. We do anticipate enrollment to increase there as well. So we think that was a scheduling issue.
Okay.
And on your concurrent enrollment, is that mostly District 6, or is that kind of starting to be multi-district wide?
If I could look to David Jones, are you able to answer that for us? David Jones is our director of the concurrent enrollment programs, and so.
Yeah, it's all over the place. District 6 is much more involved. Roosevelt is much more involved. CEC in Fort Collins is more involved this year than last year. But it's really pretty much across the board of increases as schools look for certificates, look for pathways, and pathways to Ames.
I think didn't you have a handout a while back that showed all of the various high schools in the county that were, and it
we did.
Covers the county, basically.
Yeah, I believe it was a list of 42 schools at the time. I don't know if that's changed, but 42 schools at the time, and I believe that you have that packet in your archive, or you have that document in your archive.
That information's in Diligent, somewhere back there in the...
That would be a Carrie question.
In the Diligent, is that the name of the software?
It would be, yes, it would be archived in Diligent.
We certainly could provide that again, an updated one as well. Yes, sir.
Well, these things don't just happen, so I just want to congratulate all of you out there who did all this hard work to make this happen. You're all responsible and deserve a lot of congratulations. Thank you.
Very good.
So So next up, I'd like to visit with you about workforce development. This is another area that we have had seen a decline in, and that we have been working very diligently in trying to increase our service to the community and our non-credit offerings. We do that through grants. We do that through continuing education and customized training with employers. And so in the report, you'll see that we have some stats for you on dollars and numbers served. But I think what is most important is that we are growing and that those numbers are increasing, and the number of companies that we're serving is increasing. And so I would ask you to, if you had any questions about the report, or if there's anything you would like further information about.
Is
Any questions?
Is
Go
the
ahead.
Aqua Hot training, is that Fort Lupton, since they're located in Frederick now? They used to be in Fort Lupton.
Shayna Howe, would you please stand for just a moment? Shayna's our director, and so she would be able to answer that.
Aqua Hot is in Frederick.
Yeah. So do we go to them?
Yes.
With the training? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
What is Aqua Hot?
They are a manufacturer of hot water systems for things like very large recreational vehicles, RVs. So they do the hot water systems that provide heat as well as domestic water use.
Yes, we have a position open that you could apply for.
They were in Fort Lupton for a long time, and
I actually thought you said hot rod instead of
No.
hot water systems.
No,
And
no,
so I was
sorry.
like, for RVs,
I would love
that's
to.
very interesting.
And Paul Harder, who is their, well, he's now moved up from CEO to chairman of the board or something, has been very active with Ames, very big supporter of Ames and our chamber, so that's how I got to know him.
Thank you. Are there any questions about the workforce development report?
I guess I would ask, when you list revenue, that's on the next page from where you were, but what does that mean? Is that over and above our costs, or is that tuition, or?
Think of it like tuition. So no, it is not over and above our costs.
So that's sort of a break-even kind of thing?
I would say we're
Close.
moving towards a break even, and we would like to increase to even move beyond that. But currently, it's probably not quite a break even because it's in a growth entrepreneurial stage. So it takes a little time to build it back.
Are
Go
we,
ahead, Mark.
go ahead. No, I was going to ask, are we integrating any apprenticeship programs back into our high schools? I know that Jefferson works with Habitat. Is there anything else that the college is involved with?
We are heavily involved in the conversation around apprenticeships right now, and I'd actually ask Dean Cleansmith to come on up and talk about that work quickly. We've just sent Libby to quite a few seminars to talk about apprenticeships and how we can bring them here to the campus. So.
Thank you, Dr. Kishnan, for the question. So apprenticeships are at the national forefront right now and also at the state forefront. So a couple of things that are happening in Colorado. We've been given an expansion grant, as many states have, through the Department of Labor. And so Ames has been involved in many of those conversations and trainings. A lot of that funding and technical assistance is coming through local workforce boards, and so what we have made conscious decisions to do is stay very involved with those workforce boards so that we're side by side. Apprenticeships will really ultimately be industry driven, and so we want to be right there when industry needs a training partner. And so we've invited our workforce board to come out and talk to the academic deans as well as our team in student engagement, inclusion, and success about how to stay involved in that local conversation. So for Weld County, I think that's a newer conversation, but one that we're starting to see expand. Additionally, in the high schools, we're seeing interest from both District 6 and Thompson schools in partnering with CareerWise, which is a state agency looking at high school apprenticeships. And so Ames has been fortunate to be at the table for many of those beginning conversations as well. If those school districts made applications, because it's an application process, Ames would certainly be involved. Part of the career-wise model requires that students actually take concurrent enrollment classes alongside their high school apprenticeship, so we would certainly be at the table for those. So there's a lot going on in some very new stages, and we're kind of constantly keeping our eyes open for what those opportunities might naturally be for us to extend into that area.
So that's kind of in the first 10 to 20% of evolution, would you say? Or?
I think it's probably in the first 10 to 20%, probably closer to 10 at this point. Yep. Great.
Super.
Any other questions? Okay, our next report is our grants report, and we're pleased to announce that we still have $7 million in active grants at the college, which is wonderful. Currently in this time frame, the dollars that are active are $1.3 million, and we're serving approximately 3,000 students through that grant money. 12 of our employees are funded through that grant money, fully funded, and 5 of those are partially funded. We've received approximately $550,000 of new grant money in the last 6 proposals that we've done. And on the second page of the report, you'll notice that Perkins funding is one of the primary, or the large dollar figures there of just over $400,000. We use Perkins funding primarily for our equipment and for our CTE programs and sending our CTE faculty to training. So that's what mainly those dollars are used for. Are there any questions regarding grants at the college?
I guess, Deb, 3,027 students and community members. What would be the breakdown there, approximate, how, community members versus students?
I'm going to have Laura Da Vinci, the director, come up to answer that.
Good afternoon. I would say the majority of the people served are actually students. The majority of the community members are served through workforce development, and we had 164 people trained through those grants, so the majority of 3,000 people are actually students being served by the grants.
Okay, all right, well, good.
Thank you. And then my last announcement for you is that we expect HLC to review our reaffirmation this month, and so we're hopeful next month we'll be able to give you a full report on that. Are there any questions for academic affairs? Yes, sir.
One jump back. Have we done any surveying of the surrounding in-district and service area schools about apprenticeship programs to find out where there might be interest? I hate to bring it back.
That's okay. Libby, please come back, because I think you can give the detail on this. My understanding is the workforce boards have done that. So.
No, it's a great question, and it's new for a lot of us, but the workforce boards are really engaged in that work right now, so they've been doing a lot of orientations to what is an apprenticeship. There's a variety of definitions out there for folks in terms of what is a registered apprenticeship, which is kind of the terminology right now that the federal government is using, and that's a very specific kind of apprenticeship. And so the Workforce Board has been educating industry on what that is and how to get involved. They are also the team that would provide the technical assistance to shepherd through the paperwork on that. There's a lot of paperwork involved in getting an apprenticeship up and running. So they've
in or out of high school. Am I correct with that?
Well, yes, if it's a registered apprenticeship, it wouldn't, the age piece of that wouldn't matter. Mm-hmm. Now, industry can choose to run an apprenticeship on their own, but there are significant advantages to registering as a site. Students who go through registered apprenticeships will actually earn an industry certificate that is portable across the country. And so as we're doing this work with the Workforce Board, I think we want to encourage that, because it also signifies a level of quality then that students can take outside of the industry that they maybe did their apprenticeship with. So there's a lot going on right now. Department of Labor also across the state has just put together a website where any apprenticeship in Colorado is sort of pinpointed on a map. And so we can look at and see in Weld County who's already engaged in that work. And I believe we're at 8 to 12, so we're quite small in the northern Colorado area in terms of existing apprenticeships.
Those the workforce, do they have that information published anywhere or?
We can
that map?
absolutely, yep, we can send the information to the Colorado Department of Labor, who's doing a lot of that work, and then certainly through Weld County.
And they have a list of what schools they're in touch with?
Yes.
As far as high schools, in-district high schools I'm talking about specifically.
Perhaps what we'll do for high schools, I'll send you the CareerWise information, because that's really the organization that is primarily focused on that high school population and apprenticeships.
CareerWise?
CareerWise,
Okay.
yes, yes.
Might need some definitions of all the acronyms.
We've been trying to float some of that around internally to our team. I have folks who I've been working with know I've been sending them information. I'm trying to help better define this for us as well, so we're all learning.
Okay.
And this is just purely for career opportunities. I mean, there's no credit or anything given for.
There can be. There certainly can be, not always. So I would think of apprenticeships as one of many tools that industry and community colleges have to accelerate or move people through to job opportunities. So one, but not the only. They can be long. They can be 2 to 3 to 4 years.
Sure.
But from an industry's perspective, what's nice about an apprenticeship is they are developing and molding somebody all along the way. And then in terms of talent pipeline, they're keeping that person for the long haul. So that's, I think, their real interest in wanting to get more of these off the ground.
But it would seem that the participant, to get some credit for it, again, would just be, that's like credit for life experience and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. And through the registered apprenticeship, students are earning that industry certificate, and so that can be portable. It can also, if students are doing kind of a non-credit training, be used as prior learning credit, so we can then look at what a student has done in there and then perhaps offer some credit for them to get a jump on their degree here at the community college.
Good. Good.
Good.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question? For a registered apprenticeship like that, for credit, how many hours are we talking about?
It can vary. I certainly can send the standards. There's kind of 2 parts to a registered apprenticeship. One is the on-the-job training, and that's kind of time in the seat, and that's a number of hours. And then there's also training contact time that is also required. I can't think of those off the top of my head, but we can send those to the board, certainly.
Well, that's fine. I was just curious.
It's pretty significant for an apprenticeship. They typically are going to be 2 to 3 years long.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anything else?
Thank you, Dr. Kish. We'd now like to call up Mr. Chuck Jensen, the Vice President for Administrative Services, to give us highlights on administrative services and the budget update for this month.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Bornstein, you have before you in your packet the budget report as of December 31st, 2017. And again, it's my pleasure to report to the board that the status of our budget is sound.
Excellent. Thank you for that report. You may sit down.
You trying on? I'm just really trying to come up with more creative terms to use for you. But in all seriousness, again, our financial position on this campus continues to be sound. As we look to the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th, we're beginning to make our predictions of where we're going to be. And again, this report is as of December 31st. We, of course, are looking at revenue every day or every week as the tuition start, or as the semester starts and tuition comes in, and as our revenues come in from Weld County. And at this point, I feel comfortable in predicting that we'll probably be 2 to 3% above our budgeted revenue for this year. So again, that's a very positive thing. The revenues have come in from the increased FTE, as you've heard in Dr. Kish's enrollment report. So again, that brings in additional tuition revenue. And we're seeing a real strength in our local mill levies coming in. There's always a little bit of variance in what we project. And again, that variance has been in a positive direction this year from Weld County. So that's good news on the revenue side. As we begin and continue to look at our expenditures, we are looking at this point that I don't have any budget categories that I'm anticipating to be overspent at the fiscal year end. And again, we'll continue to update the board as we go through the fiscal year between now and the end of June. So at this point, revenue's up, expenditures below budget or holding. So overall, a very sound financial picture for this budget year. Any questions on the budget report that you have before you?
That 2 to 3% possible would be in addition to that transfer sum, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess a figure that jumped out to me is you show, I think it's interest and service charges or something, a minus 104%.
That was last
What the
year.
heck does that mean?
That was last year.
Yeah, I know, but how does it minus 104%?
Kaylee?
Help.
Prior year percent of budget used.
Hi there, thank you for letting me speak. So last year, I hope you recall, with Jim McLaughlin, he spoke about our bond premiums. At the time, we had purchased quite a few of those that made our interest look negative. So that's what you're seeing in that number, in that figure, was the status we were last year.
Oh, okay. All right, so it's sort of a carryover then from where we were last year, so, okay, that's, just wondered.
Thanks,
And
Kaylee.
this shows that we've spent 100% of our public services budget of $10,000 down at the bottom, expenditures. And last year it was zero. What?
That's a timing issue.
Okay.
In previous years, we had to spend those dollars until the end of the year, whereas
Okay.
this year we recognized it at the beginning.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, what's public services? I'm sorry.
Chuck, why don't you just sit down and let her...
I thought the whole budget was public service.
It is.
So those are the categories that NACUBO defines for us, and they're really expenditures that we would make to help the community outside of our normal business processes. So I think that's normally what we spend on our small business development grant. We give about $10,000 to support that effort in Weld County and Greeley.
And NACUBO is what?
NACUBO is the National Association of College and Business Officers. So
Okay.
that's where we get a lot of our greatest
Kind of a
benchmarks.
benevolence fund.
It's the, I'm sorry?
It's kind of a benevolence fund.
Yeah, a little bit. It's yes. Supporting, yes.
Mm. Any further questions?
Good.
Well, let's see if we can't stump Chuck at least one more time.
That's why Kaylee sits in the front row. Other questions on the board? On the financial reports, I just have a couple other quick updates from the division. Just to update the board on our facility space utilization study. We are in the midst of doing that work right now on campus, and so we're going through and inventorying all the spaces on campuses and all the size and occupancy in all of our spaces on campus, classrooms and such. And we anticipate that we'll have that available, that presentation available to the board in April. You're familiar with this is the same consultant that the college had used a couple years ago to do an analysis of our utilization of our space on all of our campuses. And so we're in the process of updating that information, and we'll have that coming for you in April. That's a quick update on that.
How many categories does that, is there like, how many categories of space do we have, I guess?
You know, we're focusing on classrooms, labs, offices, common space, student space, meeting space. Yeah, it's every category of space on campus.
So there could be 10 to 15 definitions, okay.
And each of those will have a utilization portion of that. So classrooms.
Will they have cost analysis too?
No, this is just occupancy utilization.
Okay.
And the other item, just from my division, is that, of course, right now we're right in the middle of building next year's budget. I mean, that's where all budgets were due to Kaylee on Friday, and so she is processing that for the next fiscal year. So again, as we step through the compensation, through tuition today, we'll begin that process again. So That's where the division is working on that. So those are the items I had. Any final questions from the board? Thank you.
Excellent, and off he goes.
You couldn't answer it anyway, so.
I couldn't answer anyway, so.
Back away quickly.
Okay.
Thank you, Chuck. We'd like to invite Dr. Jerry Anderson, Vice President for Community and College Relations, to give the CCR report. And it is a special day for Jerry. Woo-woo! Happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday. Wow.
Do we get to sing happy birthday?
All
I know,
right.
that's okay. I've heard you sing.
I think that means no more.
That was our birthday. Where's Sandra?
Good afternoon. As you know, we are in the middle of the legislative session, and things there are a few in number related to Ames Community College, but mighty in impact to the college if they go through. And so I thought this may be a good time for us to just take a break and talk about what the role and mission is of the local district college, because we are different than the Colorado Community College system colleges. And it's important for us as we're moving through the legislative agenda to talk about when it applies to Ames and when it doesn't. So in the Colorado Revised Standards, higher ed is all part of Title 23. The K-12 system is Title 22. And then Article 60 within Title 23 relates to the Colorado Community College system. So as you're reading through things in Article 60, you don't want to worry about them because they don't apply to us. And one of the pieces of the Colorado Community College system that's very different from Ames Community College and is actually unique to Colorado, we're the only state where this happens, is that the General Assembly gave the large scope of career and technical education, K-16, to the Colorado Community College system. So they are responsible for providing programming to middle school and high schools. They are responsible for program approval of our career and technical programs in the state at the secondary and post-secondary level. They are responsible for distributing the CTA funds, which are the Career Technical Act, which is how K-12 gets funded for career and technical education. And they also administer the Perkins Fund. So we really are a subrecipient of the Colorado grant that comes through the Colorado Community College system. So whenever you see anything that has a CRS 23-60, you can always say, not us, don't care, we're going to be quiet, and hope they don't pull us into it. However, for us, we are under Article 70, and that is where the General Assembly has drafted our role and mission. And so if you look at 23-71-101, you will see that our role and mission as a local district college is about being beyond the 12th grade year of a public high school curriculum. So we only do post-secondary education, or we're just responsible for post-secondary education in terms of transfer programs and also in terms of career and technical programs. Now, we also have been granted the ability to offer baccalaureate of applied science degrees, but we've chosen to be a good neighbor with UNC and allow them to work with our faculty in order to create a transfer program for our BAS degrees, and Dr. Kish has been working with them on that. But the last part that I think is important is through Title 22, we do have legislative permission to partner with school districts to offer dual credit and concurrent enrollment programs, but we're not offering a secondary curriculum. we're offering a post-secondary curriculum in that setting. So I think as I get questions about why doesn't this apply to Ames, why aren't we excited about that? It's usually because it's really amending something that's in Article 60 or in Title 22 that doesn't apply to us. So I hope that's helpful as you're reviewing legislation. And any questions on that?
So in layman's terms, what is the role of a state community college?
Well, it depends on what...
Regarding K through 12 education.
It depends on what type of community college you're talking about. Are you talking about a community college that's one of the 13 that are in the Colorado Community College system? Or are you talking about Ames or Colorado Mount College, which are 2 of the local district colleges? The Colorado Community College system is assigned to provide career and technical oversight and governance for K-12, which is really middle school and high school career and technical programs. For the local district colleges, which are Ames Community College, we are not. We don't have a role in secondary education. It's very clear that the language in the statute says post-secondary past the 12th grade curriculum, which would be post-secondary curriculum.
In other words, we're not obligated
to support. And we actually wouldn't want to get in that business because we would have to get special permission from the Colorado Department of Education or get a legislative mandate to be able to do that. And so that's why with our early college academy in partnership with District 6, that's really a District 6 high school, and Ames partners with them by offering the post-secondary portion of the academic program. But we do not offer any of what you would call high school courses. We only offer college level courses. Does that help?
Yes. What community college serves our district K through 12?
Serves Weld County.
If anybody, nobody, Front Range Community College has the ability to serve in Weld County for career and technical education only. But the school district itself is responsible for their own secondary career and technical education. And they have a person on the district staff that's the director of career and technical education. They receive money from the Colorado Community College system through the Colorado Technical Act for funding for that, and also through Perkins. Every secondary school can apply for Perkins funding, and certainly all of the Weld County districts do.
So again, I'm kind of saying, is Front Range doing that type of support, or are we doing more of that?
We're not doing any support except at the post-secondary level. So we do have the career academies that are very successful, and in my layman's terms, Libby, you guys jump up if I start to say something wrong. I need to take a walk, my Fitbit's yelling at me, but in layman's terms, high school students enroll in college level certificate programs and through Ames Community College. And so Ames is getting Perkins funding for that.
I understand that.
And it's post-secondary level. So they graduate from high school with a high school diploma and a post-secondary career and technical certificate. But in terms of doing work at the secondary level, no one is doing that except the school district themselves.
Okay. And we're not allowed to support that?
No.
But
trust me, they get better support than we do.
Okay. We'll work on that.
And we do partner with them, and we have faculty that serve on their advisory committees. They're required to have advisory committees. In terms of the student organizations, such as Future Farmers of America and Future Business Leaders of America, those are run through the community college system, but our faculty and students participate. Our automotive program is famous for doing great work at skills USA. So we participate in those programs at the post-secondary level. Okay.
Well, so is that to say that Front Range is doing pre-secondary programming with like St. Vrain and
If St. Vrain asked Front Range to do that, they could do that. But Front Range, as any community college would prefer, of course, I shouldn't be speaking for Front Range, obviously, but they would prefer to be doing post-secondary level work. But Front Range for many years was the vocational school for Poudre Valley, and then they transitioned that to a post-secondary environment. So high school kids, just like they travel to our Fort Lupton campus to do the Career Academy, from Poudre Valley school districts, they travel to Front Range to do welding and construction and a variety of CTE programs through that agreement.
Okay.
So it's not our role to support K through 12 education.
It is not our role. We do not get funded for it. We are literally prohibited from it in state statute. The legislation says that we are to provide coursework, 2 years of training in the arts, sciences, and humanities beyond the 12th grade of the public high school curriculum or vocational education and community service programs, including college transfer programs with unrestricted admissions. But, you know, it's pretty clear it's beyond the 12th grade.
So when we're involved with apprenticeship programs and workforce development, it's only post-secondary.
Right, and those are community-based programs that we are authorized to offer.
And so if we have a public service fund that we spend $10,000 a year, we could make that larger and do other things with it, couldn't we?
That would be a decision of the board, and that would also be something that I would turn over to Chuck, because when I start talking about funding, he gets nervous.
In the public service, I know when Chuck was up and you had said it's a benevolence fund, it actually, our foundation is the area for benevolence as far as how we contribute and work together. The public service fund really is a fund that contributes to a specific entity that also furthers our students. So, for example, SBDC, the Small Business Development Center for the Community, which is what that $10,000 is for, and it's our contribution to that. It's our contribution as Ames Community College to that in order to help that continue and our students have access to that and have a benefit. So it has a very specific purpose for one thing.
But our concurrent enrollment's kind of on a bigger increase, and that can vary in skill sets. Say we decide to start a trades program here, we could have a primer program that's gearing itself for advancement eventually here at the college.
It would have to be post-secondary.
It would have to be at the post-secondary level, and we can have a variety of certificates and degrees, AAS degrees, applied degrees that we offer, but they must be at the post-secondary level in terms of the competencies and outcomes that are the expectations of students. Did you want to?
Okay.
Any other questions on that? Okay. And so then I wanted to talk about a couple of pieces of legislation that are moving through the session right now. We had some questions from the board on Senate Bill 69, which is the transfer agreement. And I wanted to explain that several years ago, we ran legislation in partnership with the Colorado Community College systems that allowed us to create degrees with designation. And faculty members from the 4-year institutions and faculty members from the 2-year institutions came together and decided what the appropriate pathway was for students to earn a degree. So the art faculty came together and said, if you're going to be an art history major at any 4-year institution in the state, you need to take this set of coursework at the 2-year institution. If you complete your AA, or in some instances an AS, like in the mathematics, and you bring that total degree in, you come in with junior status. You don't have to earn any more than 60 credit hours, and your lower division general education courses are complete, and in many cases, your lower division major courses are complete. Because curriculum is fluid, what happened was the 4-year institutions started adjusting their degree programs. And as a result of that, and just let me say that's being generous. And as a result of that, that's the difference between the VP of Academic Affairs and the legislative lobbyist. But as the curriculum changed, or new deans came on board at the 4-year institutions, they started changing their curriculum. So our students would be advised and would take what is every president signed off on in the state, which is the prescribed curriculum for the guaranteed transfer, but they would then arrive at the 4-year institution and be told, that is really great you did that, but you need to take these 6 credits of lower division work in order to complete your general education, or you took statistics, I realize it's on the sheet, but to be successful you need to take college algebra, so we're going to have you take this course. And our academic advisors even got to the point where they had people going over to UNC and getting in writing exactly what UNC would accept, because so many of our students were in that a very difficult position of completing exactly what we told them to do based on the statewide agreement. And obviously, our situation was not isolated. So the community college system, in collaboration with Senator Holbrook, put together sort of some teeth with the statewide transfer agreement. And it says if a student from a community college who's earned the AA or completed the core curriculum and completed any one of the state-approved degrees with designation, and they get to the 4-year institution and they have to take additional credit hours beyond the 60 to graduate with 120, or general education credit hours, then the institution has to pay for that tuition. And what's happening is the students are paying additional and the state is paying additional for those. And so this way we're saying, if you want to do that for your institutions, that's fine. We did testify in favor of the legislation last Monday. There's an amendment now. It is passed through the Senate and is on its way to the House, but a friendly amendment that says if the student changes their major, then all bets are off, because they would have different requirements. So we were fine and signed off on that. The second one I wanted to talk to you about at the state level is House Bill 1067, which is the Right to Rest Act. And what this bill says is that people who are homeless have the right to come into any public space and rest. They can sleep, they can be given food, and they can go into any area that's a public area. So for example, for us, they could go into the Perk and take a shower because that's a publicly funded building. We absolutely support people who are homeless for a variety of reasons. We don't need to know why they are homeless. And we also know that we have a large population of students who are homeless, and we support those with things like the Artie Pantry that we're having. We provide school supplies. We have the emergency fund. And so we do want to be compassionate, but we also need to balance that with the safety and security for our students. And we don't know because we aren't able to vet people who don't have a legitimate reason for being on campus. So because of that, we are asking for a waiver for higher education, because while the majority of people who are homeless are law-abiding citizens who we would like to sit down and have conversations with, and certainly could use our library to read and do things, and that's absolutely fine. We would support that. But we also know that because we have young and older adolescents, that we need to be careful with sex crimes on campus and putting people in difficult situations where young people are targeted for crime, and because we don't have a way of vetting, that's the logic. So that was kind of a long way to go through that. So we will be testifying on that. Dr. Kish will on March 5th be testifying with the, as a public institution, we're open. We're an open access institution, and we do support people who are homeless coming to school or using our facilities in a legitimate way.
As a student or just as an individual that's homeless?
As a student, if they have a legitimate reason to be on campus, then we would say yes, be on campus. But we don't have the services either, and so what we would prefer to do is refer them where they can be served. So, yes.
It's a big dilemma.
Mm-hmm. It is. And we do want to be humane.
Yes, it's a struggle right now with this community.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying then is that the testimony that you'll give is that we don't like that bill.
That's, well, we don't, no, we're not even saying that. We're saying that we believe, based on the safety and security of having an environment where we have a lot of young adolescents, and actually older adolescents, but minors, that we would like to exempt higher ed from the provision, but we don't have any dog in the fight if someone wants to put a tent up, you know, in a public park. That's not our responsibility, but it is our responsibility to ensure our campus is safe for our students.
Okay.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, the only definition of legitimate reason to be on campus is to be a student.
That's not true. It could be that they're there to use the library. So if they're there to use services for the library, they could be there for ESL, so non-credit courses. So that would be for an educational purpose.
But they can't walk into the gym and take a shower.
Right.
Okay.
Unless they were enrolled in a credit and were using the gym in a legitimate way, that they had gone through the process.
Okay.
Yeah. That would be.
And this is what the legislation is going to define, that specific concept where.
Right now what it says is you can't have any restrictions. So if you're a publicly funded environment, they have a right to rest, they have a right to camp there, they have a right to go into the facilities and use the facilities without restriction. So that's what it says.
CU everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Courthouse.
Mm-hmm.
Libraries.
Libraries.
Public entities. And so, as you might expect, the municipal, because it's sidewalks downtown, business people don't want them sleeping on sidewalks downtown, and those are public spaces because they don't want their patrons to have to walk over people. Right. So that's another example.
Well, we moved them to Evans.
Okay.
So they're all in Evans now.
It is a difficult situation. So
Which is sad.
I wanted you to understand our position.
And what did you say the status of that is? What, it's still in committee? Is that?
Yeah, it comes up in committee in local affairs on March 5th, and Dr. Kish will be testifying for us.
Okay, and that's the first stop on its journey, right?
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Yeah. Okay, and then very quickly, I just wanted to talk to you about federal legislation, and Trustee Ruckel will be on her way to Washington, D.C. later this month to help. As we have shared with you with the reauthorization of higher ed, which is called the Prosper Act, there is a provision in there where students who are attending your institution and you're the last institution they've attended, the institution is responsible for their debt if the individual defaults on their direct student loan. So I am just the messenger here. I have to acknowledge Dr. Gray did all the work, and that hurts me because this is good work. I would like to take credit for it. But in preparation for Trustee Ruckel's visit, she went through and by hand calculated that we have 171 students currently on campus who have defaulted on their loans. And so, that's not true. That is not true. We have 171 students who withdrew before the end of the term or earned all Fs. And so the college will be returning under the current rules, which is important for you to understand, $38,495. However, oh, that's a drop in the bucket, kids.
Yeah, right.
If the new piece of legislation goes in for one term, it would be $228,801. So that would be money that would be taken away from our ability to serve students or individuals in our community. That is just for an 80% increase. And what's important about that is that we are not responsible at all for that debt. We did not give that debt except the debt that we were required to give them for their time at Ames, which is that $38,000. Then, if you annualize that, because you do give it back for the whole year, it would be $467,602. So nearly $500,000 in 1 year would go back from just Ames. So the impact for smaller community colleges that do not have the financial resources that Ames has at this time or hasn't had previously, you can see the impact that would be on the institution. So
how does that happen?
It's written into the legislation.
I know, but how does the dollars accumulate that way? Is this from other institutions that they've dropped out of?
Yeah. So they would be a student that would go to UNC and would take out, making up the numbers right now because I don't have any particular, $25,000 in loans, and would leave UNC because of they weren't in good academic standing. They maybe fell below a 2.0 or something. So then they come to Ames and say, you know, I'm going to be at Ames where it's smaller class sizes so I can get my GPA up or get a certificate at least and go to work. And so they come to Ames and take out $3,000 in loans. Well, their total debt is actually $28,000, so then we would be on the hook for the $28,000, not just the $3,000 if they would default.
Interesting.
I can add up.
But yeah. I also just needed to do a shout out to our recruiting team under Jody's leadership. You heard about how great our enrollment is. And this semester, as during the last year, we have been transitioning the way we do recruiting, and we've talked with you about that. But this year we had a 12.3% increase of students new to Ames and new to first-time college students, and this is really impressive. We had an 18.8% increase in transfer students. So those students that need to leave an institution and come for a small environment where faculty care a great deal, we've done a great job. Jody and her recruiters have been in the libraries doing a presentation called College 101, which really isn't overtly about coming to Ames, but what you need to do to go to college. But in that presentation, they develop a relationship with our recruiters, and they begin to trust the information and our ability to help them with things like FAFSA. We have financial aid people there that partner with us and do that. And so those are the kinds of programs. We will be in Fort Lupton later this month, and right now we're anticipating about 300 people at that presentation. So it's a great, the school district and the library are partnering with us. So we will be offering information sessions in Spanish and English, offering dinner and a reading time for our younger children so parents can have childcare to come. In addition to that, we will be partnering with the Migrant Education Enrichment Program this summer in Fort Lupton. So we know summer matters, and students who are not able to attend summer school will be attending the migrant program with Mario at the Fort Lupton campus, and we'll be exploring different things like ag, arts, and different programs. And then this week, we have Young Ameritown on the Road, which is a program that's offered through Bill Daniels Foundation in Denver, but they have moved to northern Colorado. And if you come to the Cornerstone, you'll see we have a town set up, and students are learning how the economy works and how they run a town. So we have people working in the grocery store, in the radio station, we have a mayor, and so they're having a lot of fun. So Friday at 10 o'clock, the American Town folks, administrators, will be here to share what this curriculum is about, and if you would like to join us, we would love to have you there for that.
What students are involved in that?
I wish you wouldn't have asked that because it's going to confuse you. They are sixth graders from Weld County, Poudre, from Fort Collins, from Johnstown, and I think Windsor.
You knew where I was going.
Yes, I did. And what I want to say to you is we're just using this as a recruitment to get them excited about the business and accounting programs that we offer at Ames.
Quick question, do we offer any coursework that's non-post-secondary for remediation?
Yes, we offer remediation in, and just tell me, do you want to come up and do that? In reading, written composition, and math. But as Dr. Kish explained, that program is going through a transformation. But we are authorized to provide support to students who come to Ames as an open admission institution who are not academically prepared for college level work. And then we also, thank you, have the GED program, which is through the non-credit workforce development.
And those could be post-secondary students dropped out when they were sophomores or freshmen and then wanted to come back and finish up before they were actually technically a senior, right? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I would just comment that the Ameritown program is just awesome. I got to go with students from one of our elementary schools several years ago, and it's just, it's an amazing learning experience. They actually earn money, they get a paycheck, they have to deposit it in the bank, they have to balance a checkbook, they have to figure out all of that stuff, and it's really good learning.
We'd like to invite Dr. Sarah Weisgaber, Vice President for Student Engagement, Inclusion, and Success, to give the CCR report.
Well,
but before you begin.
Yes, I think we should acknowledge that Dr. Weisgaber is now a permanent Vice President of whatever it is, that whole As everybody knows, she's been serving in this capacity as an intern, or interim. An intern too. I'm sure she interned in that somewhere along the line.
Somewhere along the line. It felt like it maybe on days, so yeah.
But anyway, congratulations to you.
Thank
Great
you.
to have you on board permanently.
Thank you. I'm very, very happy to be here. So now that my cheeks are rosy from that, welcome to spring semester. I'm always excited that from the student perspective, we're really thinking in terms of semesters and getting excited. And so I feel lucky to have the opportunity to welcome you to new semesters and share with you what we're doing and give you a little bit of insight into what our students are doing outside of the great work that Cody presents on. And so in your board packet, you have the SCORE calendar. You'll note that folks in the SACE division are pretty busy. We have 15 pages worth of events and programming that we're offering to students. You'll notice the theme among these events are really focused on the idea of kicking off. You'll see the word kickoff a lot in the descriptions, or orientation. And so we're really working to help connect students to programming, connect students to individuals here. Very similar to what we do in August semester as we're getting in this new group of students that we have who are here in the spring. You'll also notice that we've been working very hard in our Career and Transfer Services program. We are scaling our programming for transfer services, where we'll be taking students to four-year institutions to help them go through new student orientation and transfer orientations at the four-year institution. And so you'll see that several times throughout the SCORE calendar where we're working on that. We're also working a lot harder on building those bridges with four-year institutions, bringing them on campus so that our students who are wanting to transfer can do so more fluidly with a better understanding of what their experience is going to be. Like Drs. Kish and Dr. Anderson before me, I am really happy to talk about our enrollment. I feel like, we've seen a significant increase in our applications from a year ago where we were at this point. We've seen a slightly higher yield rate from a year ago at this point, just under 3% yield rate. And so as students, the recruiters are working with folks and they submit their applications, then our admissions office really picks that up and helps try to shepherd students through the enrollment process. So we're happy to see an increase there. We're also working on a 45 credit plus campaign where we're reaching out to our students who have 45 credits or more, and we're doing some direct marketing trying to get them to finish the courses that they need so that they can complete. So we're excited about that. Other pieces that are related to enrollment, I think we're really appreciative and excited about our collaboration with our partners over in academic affairs. We've been working for a couple semesters now on pulling down reports that where we can see our course capacity when we reach course capacity, and we can shoot that over to our partners in academic affairs, and they have the opportunity then to increase course capacity or add sections so that we can get more students in. So a lot of hard work in academic affairs, and we're happy to have that partnership. The other piece around our increased enrollment I'm happy to talk about is a new program that's called our Peer Coach Program, and it's coming out of our first year experience area. This program in the fall connected with 750 students in a variety of ways. They visited AAA classrooms, they set up one-on-one appointments, they had emails, phone calls as they were reaching out and trying to really build relationships with folks. In our survey at the end of that, trying to understand where our efforts effective, 90% of the students agreed or strongly agreed that they felt more connected to Ames and they felt like they belonged more as a result of the peer coaching program. So I'm excited to, as we get that, roll that program out of pilot phase, to bring that to you and showcase another group of our students. In our one-stop area, we continue to see students pretty steadily. We're watching that kind of come down a little bit now. In the month of January, we saw 2,122 students. You'll remember from fall semester, our intuition is to think higher number is better. In this instance, higher number is not necessarily better, because what we're really working to do is to help students make appointments early and be able to take time with their advisor so that they can really understand their educational pathway. So I'm happy to say that we're down almost 300 walk-in appointments during the month of January from this time last year. The last update that I have for you is really about the Bright Futures program, and we'll see how this goes. Bright Futures, I'm Trustee O'Hara. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this. I suspect the rest of the board is, so I'll do a brief recap so that you understand the program. Bright Futures is a program that's designed to assist students in Weld County financially with their post-secondary education. And so it's not a grant or a scholarship that we offer through Ames. However, Ames administers that as students are getting their financial aid package. The program is in its second year. In our first year, 2016-17, we served approximately 440 students. In our current year, where we're at, we have served about 750 students. So we've seen that increase significantly. We're not done with the awarding year yet, so we'll see that number will likely change. That 750 will likely change. The reason I'm giving you this background is because I want to help you understand the changes to Bright Future as we move into next year, and those changes are significant. The first change that we need to be aware of is the scholarship originally started out as $3,000 each academic year for students. That amount has been decreased to $2,000 a year for students. The other piece is that there are several eligibility changes and new additional requirements for students. So for instance, students can only access Bright Futures up to 2 years after they've graduated from high school. Students have to be full-time enrolled in order to access Bright Futures. Students now have to complete 8 hours of community service each semester in order to be eligible. Students are required to fill out a FAFSA application, which is a financial aid application. And so the students who are receiving Bright Futures, that is going to look very different, their experience. The number of students who can receive Bright Futures is going to decrease, and the experience for those students will change as well. One of the most important pieces that I want to share with you about Bright Futures and the changes is the scholarship has previously been a first dollar in, and it is changing to a last dollar in. So what that means is that instead of that scholarship being the first to help pay the student's bill, now it's going to be the last. And so all of the other aid will pay on the student's bill prior to Bright Futures paying. And so in many instances, we'll see our students here at Ames Community College, based on their Pell Grant, won't receive any Bright Futures. We're still looking to see what this might mean as we move through. Dr. Gray has been working very closely with the Bright Futures board and trying to help them understand the impact this will have for Ames students. But in anticipation of our students not receiving that same level of funding, she's also been working closely with Kelly Jackson in the foundation office and with her team members in financial aid to try to find different ways to help supplement that and offset that change to Bright Futures. I bring that up. We've seen it in the Greeley Tribune often over the last couple of months, and so I just wanted to give you all an understanding of what that will look like.
Is that for this coming
academic year?
Yes.
So this next year.
Are they retroactive?
No.
They're just...
Right.
The new rules apply to everybody.
So it goes back in time?
No.
It goes to 17 graduates. High school.
Yeah, yes, they'll only get $2,000.
They only get 2,000.
Right.
Same with 16. I think it started in 16.
Right. So those graduates will be, the new rules, the new guidelines will apply to them.
The new rules for everybody.
Right.
There's no exceptions.
Right. Right, there's no grandfather, where the folks who came into the program in 16, 17 would be held to those guidelines, no.
Yeah, okay.
So does that mean that some students could be faced with a refund of $1,000 if they first year got to $3,000 and now it goes back to $2,000?
No.
No. No, you mean a refund, and would students have to pay money back?
Yes.
That is not my understanding, no.
I don't think they can't go back.
No, they won't pay, they'll
That's
just
water
change
under
the
the
rule moving forward. So whereas students could have $3,000 previously, now they can only have $2,000. They're not going to go back and try to ask students for money back.
This pretty much eliminates Ames as a participant financially in this, doesn't it, for the most part? Most students would apply for FAFSA and receive at least their tuition money, am I correct?
Yes, this is going to significantly decrease the number of students who are eligible to receive Bright Futures. Ames in particular, because our costs are so low, and I'm going to step to the side and let our expert kind of fill you in on some of those finer points. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if you had the numbers.
I have them here.
So out of our students this year who are receiving Bright Futures, if the new rules were in place, we would have 100 or fewer students who probably qualify for Bright Futures funding.
Versus what, we have 400?
We have over 700. 700. So it will go down dramatically.
Okay. And it can only be used for tuition, it can't be used for living expenses.
Correct.
And stuff like that,
I tried. I tried really, really hard.
Dr. B.
Was there another change where students would have 10 years to use it, now they have?
Correct, 6 years. It's been reduced down to 6 years, and the other significant change, what doesn't impact us, but students will only be able to use it in Colorado and the adjoining states. So
that's a good rule.
Right, and the only grandfathering that's going to happen is those students who are going out of state schools. that wouldn't be eligible, they'll have one more year of eligibility at their out-of-state school, and then they either have to give up Bright Futures or they have to transfer.
So
Go ahead.
did I hear that they have to use it or start their program within 2 years?
Correct. Under the old rules, they had a 10-year window, and so they could use their 4 years of eligibility at any time within that 10 years, but now they have to start within 2 years after graduation of high school.
And it still applies to the those that complete the GED exam and
Right.
get high school equivalency.
Right. The
And
GED and the
veterans.
veterans, there have been no changes voted on yet.
So those still stay in place?
Yeah, they're still qualified.
They still get the 3?
Yeah, 4. Yeah.
3,000 a year for 4 years?
Oh, no, it'll, 2,000 a year. They'll still have their 4 years of eligibility.
Okay.
Wow, that's quite a reduction in the number of students.
So
that are
they, how close
qualified.
to 0 are they now?
I don't.
Had to ask that.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you much.
Yeah, and if there's any other questions that I can ask for the board? No?
How's
Questions?
our food bank doing?
Oh, we're so excited. We are looking to do a launch date of, I think, March PC 19th. And so if you're interested in donating any goods or products, there'll be information out in the daily, and you can drop all of those donations off at the SLD office. We're very, very excited. I think we're seeing the new marketing getting ready, and so very excited to see that program roll out.
What's the most needed items, I guess? Is there a list?
Cody, do you have any idea?
I want to say canned goods and hygiene products.
Okay.
I would just assume so. I think that's a good need of students right now, especially food insecurities going around.
And they get dropped off at...
Right? So, yeah, where are we? I'm in the wrong, I think I might have pointed to the wrong place because I'm a little disoriented in this building. This way. Back at the College Center, first floor in the Student Leadership and Development Office. Mm-hmm.
And I know I've read about this and I should know, but is this for Ames students?
Ames students only, yes.
Only, okay. So no community members are out there.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
Great. Thank you.
Don't go too far.
I'm not.
Okay.
So,
Dr. B, you're on, I think.
Thank you. I'm on. Comments from the president. We'd like to start this section by presenting to you the great, fantastic work this institution has done re-examining their college values. So you'll recall last year, January of 2017, when you all were in retreat and talking about establishing a new purpose, vision, and mission for the institution, that the values, the question of values came up as well if the board wanted to go ahead and identify some values. And the board agreed that it was, while the board would also live by these values, it was truly the board wanted the college to have a conversation about what values not only did we want to live by, but did we want to hold ourselves accountable to. So, long story short, we brought this project to College Council, and at that time, Dr. Weisgeber was the Assistant Vice President in Student Affairs and volunteered as a co-chair to lead this project, and the project is now at its completion. We are bringing this to you at this point in the agenda to educate you on the process and the outcome, and then later in the agenda, this is an action item, and it would become policy number 5 as the college values. So, without further ado, Dr. Weisgeber.
So I have to say that working on the College Values Project was probably one of the most fun committee projects that we had done. We were working on a pretty accelerated timeline trying to ensure that our values aligned and coincided with our strategic plan. And so I'm going to take you through a little bit of what that timeline looked like so that you have an understanding, and then I'm going to jump in to the presentation. However, before I do that, I wanted to recognize the folks who worked on this committee, because it truly is a college-wide effort. And these folks dropped everything and attended team meetings, and for teams that were not their own, drove places, pulled things together, sorted through cards, tried to learn new technology. Emphasis on try, that was me. And they just did an incredible job. So I would like to ask that the committee members stand up, and I'll go ahead and read your names if you're here. We have George Belinsky, who's the Assistant Director of Human Resources. Bill Brown, who's the Executive Director of Institutional Research and Assessment. Laura Cole, Executive Director of Communications and Public Information. Allison Easley, Full-Time Faculty English. Michael Millsaps, Executive Director, Facilities and Operations. Brittany Robson, Student Government Representative, Secretary and Treasurer. Kelly Sapp, Part-Time Faculty, Communications Media. Would you all mind standing? They're a humble bunch, but they're rowdy when you get them in a room with a door. Okay, so as Dr. B indicated, last April we put together the subcommittee to re-examine our college values. And one of the things she asked this committee to do was to facilitate a dialogue with campus about our college values. And I feel like that's really important and underscores her leadership approach, and that the intent was very clear. It is not our job to choose college values for the college. It was truly to help us have an inclusive conversation about what those values are. And so we came up with a two-phase model. That model, one part was qualitative, or was more human interaction, and the second part was quantitative, which is more numbers and survey-based. And that took us through June, July, August, September. In October, we focused a lot on our data analysis, and by November, December, we made recommendations to the College Council as well as Cabinet. Those bodies have both approved these values, and so here we are before you. So the slide you see before you shows you a little bit about what those phases are. And this first slide in front of you is our phase one. And I want to just share with you a little bit about what phase one looked like. Have any of you participated in a values card sort before? See Trustee Ruppel? Yep, no. So basically what it is, a values card sort is a list of values on little cards in front of you. And you go through an activity, a dialogue activity, where you ask a series of questions, and you start from a large number of values, and you painfully whittle down to a few values. We did this in an expedient timeline, and so people didn't have a lot of time to really overthink the process. We asked them to trust their gut and really rely on their intuition about what they felt was most important. At the end of the activity, the participants, students, staff, and faculty chose 3 of their top values, and they put those cards into a hat, if you will. We had a total of 429 students, staff, and faculty who participated in phase one, so a fairly strong representation across campus. And the values that you see in that column there on the left side of the page are the values that rose to the top. And so you see community had 119 top, it was in the top 3, 119 times, hands-on practical application, as one would think, given that we have very strong CTE programs. We saw that 100 times, all the way down to authenticity. And so these 12 values, as we moved into phase 2, were the values that we put on the survey as we progressed. The second phase of our values project was a survey that staff, students, and faculty filled out. And what it was, each one of the values was defined at this point, and what we asked them to do now is to rank them. So 1 being the most important value to me, and 12 being the least important value to me. And so you'll see here, we analyzed these data in 2 different ways, the quantitative data in 2 different ways. We looked at the mean, so the average vote of each value, but we also looked at the mode, so we could see how often did this come up in what ranking. In both sets of analysis, we see a very similar natural breaking point in the data. You see right there at performance excellence on the left-hand side between performance excellence and engagement, and on the right-hand side we see a break between performance excellence and teamwork. As a committee, we felt like that congruity within the data was very strong, and so we felt like that we were really understanding and hearing what folks were saying. We also looked back on that first phase of data collection to see are we in line with what folks had said originally. We also found similarity there. And so what the committee did at that point then was really work to understand what these values are and how we can put them together and how we'd like to define them. So this next slide I'll walk you through, but I'll talk to you about the process as we went through it. So for authenticity and truthfulness is the first value that the subcommittee would like to recommend as a value for AIMS. These were originally 2 different values, but given the similarity of their definition, we thought that they complemented each other very nicely, and so we partnered them together. The definition for this value was that we strive to foster an environment where employees and students feel safe to be true to their own personality, spirit, and character, so we can engage with each other in a sincere manner. The second value of community doesn't surprise me that it comes up as a value, given that we're so community-driven. The definition here is that we strive to cultivate a feeling of fellowship with faculty, staff, and students, and college stakeholders so we can develop opportunities to share collective interests and goals. The third value that we see is equity and professional respect. Now, this is not one that the committee tampered with. This was a value that was paired from the onset of our data collection, and is important and continued to rise up for students, for staff, for faculty as something they felt was very important to them. The definition here is that we strive to promote an atmosphere grounded in fairness and civility with due regard, consideration, and thoughtfulness for the feelings, needs, and rights of others. Our fourth value that we have here, and please know as I go through and number them, there is no order. They are there's no priority on them, is inclusiveness. And I think this value really speaks to the mission that the board recently worked on and really focusing on serving our diverse populations. And this is that we strive to advance the practice of involvement and empowerment for everyone, where the inherent worth and dignity and histories and experiences of all people are recognized. Lastly, performance excellence and effectiveness. Again, similar to our first value of authenticity and truthfulness, the committee felt like the definitions around these 2 values were very similar and would complement each other nicely. So we blended the definitions together to arrive at that we strive to deliver ever-improving value to stakeholders, and we focus on organizational sustainability and continuous improvement for overall college effectiveness. And so with that concludes the real quick presentation on college values. If you have any questions or discussion, I would invite that now. I know I'll be up here momentarily to ask you for approval.
Well done.
Thank you.
Very well done.
Thank you.
Very good. I think it's an excellent job. So I think you will not have any problem of getting it adopted.
Fantastic.
That's my guess. Anyway, so.
Thank you.
So I would like to also in this formal setting particularly thank Dr. Sarah Weisgaber for her leadership and for the team. I know you already stood up, but if you feel like standing up again, this was an incredible college-wide project that was meaningful, inclusive, extremely well done, process, timeline, everything. So I think you can certainly be proud to know that this was a meaningful dialogue that happened across all campuses. So thank you very much. So I'll quickly continue on with my comments. You'll see in there meetings of note, both from December and January, since we did not have a formal board meeting in January. If there are any questions about any meetings on there, I'm happy to respond to those. We have, I would like to state publicly too, one of these acknowledgements and recognitions that's sort of a little bit of a teaser. That our own communications and public information team out of CCR, again, for the second year in a row, has been targeted for incredible awards. We're not sure if they're going to be gold, silver, or bronze awards. We will learn that in March, and you will learn that at your meeting in April. However, the entries, the award-winning entries, are the Eclipse Viewing Party poster from last fall, the Ames.edu website, the microsite, Ames 50th Anniversary microsite, the original photography, Ascending into a New Era, the 50th Anniversary Thank You t-shirt, and the special event is actually the whole entire Ames Community College 50th Anniversary campaign, which was incredible and outstanding. So regardless of whether it's gold, silver, or bronze, outstanding. So we'll be able to celebrate more on that when you guys come back from Las Vegas. There's just some college-wide updates in there, that things that have occurred since we last met. We got our new Piper aircraft, and we had a fun event welcoming them into the Greeley-Wells Airport right before we went on winter break. They're beautiful. If you hadn't had an opportunity to go and sniff the new leather, they're gorgeous. Dr. Kish did talk about our HLC reaccreditation review. We're waiting on that, and we did congratulate Dr. Weisgeber. To let you know about our strategic plan this week, our next steps, the Cabinet will be meeting to review all of what originally were 187 tactics that were submitted. And I said originally because there were some duplications, so Ann and I went in and kind of cleaned some of that up. But I think it's now 135 tactics. So we will be reviewing those and vetting those and putting them together. But I will give you a little bit of a foreshadow. It is really exciting. It's really exciting. I've got that, jitter excitement. I don't know if you can see the glow, but it's a very exciting strategic plan that I can't wait for us to jump right in. So. Chuck also,
enthusiasm.
Yes, it's really awesome. Chuck talked to you about the facilities utilization, so you have that in there. And President's coverage for February is Dr. Weisgeber, and March is Mr. Jensen. So I believe you have all of that in your packet. Any questions on that portion? Okay, you also have the employee report for new hires. Are there any supervisors here that would like to introduce their new employees? Please raise your hand or stand up. Yes, Brad.
I don't believe Cindy Stewart-White was able to make it. She's in training right now. She joins us she came to the IT department from admissions, records, and registration. She's been at the college for 8 years. Thank you, Dr. Weiss. And I'm sorry. So we're excited to have her. She's joined the IT department as a program analyst.
Okay.
I'd like to introduce Mike Dowd. Mike is an electrical engineer by trade, spent many years with HP amongst other companies, decided to move on to a second career. Came to Ames a few years ago and got his EMT certificate. He continues to volunteer with Platte Valley. Fire service in an EMT role, but he is now our full-time program coordinator for EMS at our Public Safety Institute.
While she's not here, just a quick announcement. Charlotte Parnell was formerly our academic advisor at Windsor Charter Academy.
and we just simply scooped her up into concurrent enrollment and made her reach much larger. She's a valuable asset, and now lots of high schools in northern Colorado get to benefit from seeing her face, bringing more high schools into our concurrent enrollment program. So we're thrilled to have her here on campus.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay. Moving along, I believe you also, well, we heard about Ripples in Recognition nominees for November, so I don't need to reiterate that. And I believe that concludes the President's report.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll move right on to information items. Do we have any correspondence that needs to be
Not this month.
referenced or anything?
Not this month.
Not now. Okay. Next item would be the board calendar, and it's fairly easy. I mean, we're here today. It's a board meeting. Legislative Summit is February, and I believe that Trustee Carol and Trustee...
No, I'm the only one going.
You're the only one going? Oh, okay. I thought there were two. Okay. So anyway, we'll be well represented. That's the word I wanted. Conversation Day coming up. Looks like a pretty full day of lots of good stuff, and I intend on being there. I hope others will as well. Eagles, Ames Night, 27th, and then the 28th, I'm sorry. And then the board meeting in Fort Lupton on the 7th day of March. Anything else that needs to be put on the calendar? Okay, we're moving right along. January board retreat, I think there's been several references to that today, and first off, I got to say I hate the word retreat, but I tried to come up with a different word that we could substitute, and the thesaurus that I have just didn't show anything that was worth going for, so I guess we'll just keep that term. But I think we had a really good day of interaction amongst the board. We certainly suggested some things that we feel like that the didn't make any decisions now. They were just suggestions as to future things, programs, so on, ideas that the college should pursue. And I said a little bit ago, welcome to the first year of the next 50, and basically, you know, that's what we were talking about for a full day is, well, you know, we've done this for 50 years, but now what do we do for the next 50 years? What cornerstones, what priorities, what programs do we put into place to make Ames Community College, or continue Ames Community College as the place of the college of choice? And so it was a really good discussion from my perspective. Does anybody else, board, want to comment on anything?
Oh, do we want, is this our comment period?
No.
What?
It's not,
No.
it's not the end of the period.
This is just on the retreat.
On the
Mark, I guess.
On the retreat we just had. Excuse me,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was with you, but.
Oh, okay. Wake up, Mark. Wake
No,
up.
it was good. I think we had a lot of positive discussion, and, you know, we learned a lot. And so we, you know, and that's what it's all about, and connect some fibers. We got Jean introduced to the retreat, so that was good. That was healthy. And, you know, there's a lot going on here that we can't know everything, nor kind of, you know, and that's where we count on all of the college, and for that support and the information that you give us to keep us kind of on the straight and narrow, which is good.
I guess I would agree with those comments. I think that we learned a lot about each other, and we always do. And I think that's the foundation of a good team. is to learn about each other, learn each other's philosophies, how we think, so we can move forward as an efficient and effective team to move the college into the future. So that's always the big thing for me. Certainly a lot of great ideas and everything discussed, as Dr. Peterson alluded to, but that's my perspective of it.
And I think that we really opened up. There wasn't anything off limits necessarily. I mean, if something was on one's mind, we talked about it and we discussed it. And I would agree with Mark. I think we really made progress as a team, and all, of course, dedicated to the improvement and continuation of Ames Community College.
I would say, as a new trustee, it was very informative and very helpful for me to see how the team, the board, works together, and to, as has already been said, to hear the different perspectives and to understand how we'll need to come together for decision making. And I really did think it was valuable time, although I couldn't stay for the whole retreat.
You missed a good lunch. Yes, Dr. B, I just realized now what you're, why is that book there? Oh, I remember.
This is also pretty much for the audience too. So, you know, as employees, we go through our Title IX training. Well, as the board at their retreat, they also went through their Title IX training. And I had talked to them about this book if you hadn't read it. So it's really for information for the board too. I was mentioning this book by John Krakauer called Missoula, and it was based on a couple years ago the University of Montana and what they went through with regard to some pretty serious Title IX issues. It's a very well done book. Tough topic, extremely well written. I thought it was a very quick read, but I highly recommend it if you're interested in wrapping your brain around the complexities of Title IX challenges, not just from an institutional standpoint, but from what it does to a whole community. So if I'll pass it around if you're interested in borrowing it, I have a copy in my office.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on the...
Keep it.
No, you can't keep it. Well, you could if you paid for it. Okay, where are we? Oh, Distinguished Fellow nominations. Are we down there? Did I miss anything? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Possible topics for a joint meeting of the Foundation Board. And, Dr. B, why don't you go ahead and sort of talk about that.
Okay, on our annual calendar, May 2nd is our board meeting, and that's also the time that we have slotted for a joint Foundation Board of Trustees meeting. After chatting with Chair Peterson, we talked about having the actual conversation, if you will, in a more informal work session framework, and then inviting the board certainly to the board meeting where they'd be introduced, and that's also the meeting where CCR gives their annual report, so that would be a good opportunity for the Foundation Board to be part of that as well. So in addition to some of, certainly the financials, how can we work together as boards, what are some of the successes and data points from this last year and the 50th and those kind of things where the foundation was involved, what are some other topics that you might want to have on that work session agenda, and this is sort of just a brainstorm so that actually Dr. Anderson can inform the Foundation Board as well.
I'd like to see us really talk about the implications of the changes in Bright Futures, what the role is of the foundation, how we can market what we have available to students so that they don't feel that their opportunity to come to Ames, at least, has been diminished by the reduction in the Bright Futures grant.
Okay. I'm taking notes. Other thoughts?
That makes sense. Anybody else want to jump in there? They do have a few things that they have indicated they'd like to talk about as to relationship between them and us and how we operate. Nothing serious at all. I'm not trying to say that there's any problem, but just to make sure that everything's running on all cylinders and doing what needs to be done. Good comment, Carol. I think that's absolutely essential that we do dig into that and make sure we can, everything we can do to help with that.
You know, we've gone through our board policies and procedures, kind of redoing. You guys are going to start the college. One of the things that we should consider, the paradigm we're in today versus when some of these rules and regulations, statutes were written 30 to 50 years ago, and possibly are they applicable on today's standards? And is it different? Is how we treat secondary education, higher education different 30 to 50 years ago versus today? And do we have some reasonable suggestions we can make through? This is maybe on or off subject, but let's look at that, because we just went through a pretty in-depth review of how the board should respond to items and protocol, things like that. And I know the college is doing that, so it's interesting. I'd just like to kind of maybe take a step back when we talk about how we participate with our surrounding school districts being a unique little beast. Is that being challenged by the paradigm we're in today, by our rules?
So is that a conversation that you want to have with the foundation board?
Possibly. That could be with the foundation board, because they have to understand some of the dynamics we're dealing with, because the foundation is here to help the community. And one of the top items on Sarah's list was community, and what can we do to really help this community, because we're in a unique set of parameters on, you know, workforce development, all of these things that we're looking at, and how can we engage?
Okay, so maybe if I can reframe that just a little bit. By that point, we will also have a good understanding of certainly our tactics and our strategic plan and how the college is going to be moving forward. Perhaps then how the foundation can assist and help with the strategic initiatives, tactics, objectives that the college is moving forward. And dovetail.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Because the foundation just come underneath the college formally in the last 18 months.
Any other, thank you, any other thoughts about topics for discussion?
And I would say if something pops into your mind, let Dr. B know. We will also have 2 more meetings, I think, right? Yeah, we'll have.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll have March and April.
We'll want to formalize, we'll put the agenda together, obviously, in April, so that it's ready for
So we've got some more time to think about some of the things that we might want to discuss. Okay?
Thank you.
You bet. Okay, now we'll jump to the Distinguished Fellow Awards. And I think this item is just simply to remind everybody that the nominations are due on the 28th of February.
And I need a board representative.
And what?
I need a board representative.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. And when we get to judging or whatever it is, selecting, I guess Dr. B would like to have one of the board members serve on the committee to decide that person. Anybody want to volunteer?
Sure.
Okay. Good. Thank you, Lyle, because you were about to be appointed.
I had my crystal ball out.
I have the procedure here, which really outlines the process, and the board representative also chairs the. It's
I think I'm busy that day.
It's one meeting, and Carrie will assist you with the organization.
And maybe an hour, 2, maybe something like that, depending on the number of applications. But it's not like it's going to take several days or anything. So. Yeah, thank you, Lyle. Appreciate your volunteering that
Absolutely.
way. Okay, action items. We're about ready to jump into that. So I guess, let's see. Chuck, you want to lead us through this, please, the first one?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, excuse me a second. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, you have before you agenda item number 9A, which is an action item for setting tuition for the next academic and fiscal year. Based on feedback from the tuition work session, we bring before you a tuition proposal for next year that holds tuition flat at the rates that are currently charged. This will be the if you approve this will be the 8th year that tuition has been held at a 0 increase for all tuition categories. So that is the proposal, and our recommendation is do pass.
Mr. Chairman, I would move approval of action item 9A, setting tuition and fee rates with no increase.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
I don't know who did that. Mark
No,
did it?
that was
Okay.
Jean.
Oh,
Jean.
Jean did, okay, thank you,
I almost
Jean.
did.
Okay, you've heard the motion that we set the tuition and fees as they have been for the last, what, 6 years?
7 years.
7 years, so that's got to be a record of some kind, I think.
I would think so.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. That motion has carried.
Thank you.
I guess that's a
You're
do
in here.
pass.
That's a do pass. Good job.
Item 2.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, policies. Or values, I'm sorry.
So Dr. Weisgeber and I would like to present policy number 5, the college values, to the board. Sarah, do you want to just go over the summary?
Sure. Just to share with you context, values are a significant part of the strategic planning process. As the college is moving through the strategic planning process, it's important for us to also reconsider our values. The values were established by asking 2 questions to the campus community, and those questions are: which values best indicate behaviors that are fundamental and or replaceable and already exist within Ames? The second question asked was, which values best describe how we want to work together? You saw the presentation regarding the mixed methodology approach that we used, which, in case you're interested, is research sound. And so the committee would like to put forward that the board accept the college values as Board Policy 5 as they were presented.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve Policy 5, college values?
I would make a
Chair.
motion for approval of Policy 5, college
Okay,
values.
thank you, Jean. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Carol. The motion has been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Yeah, I would just like to commend you again for this project and for all the hard work and certainly the results of it. And I'd be very proud to vote in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, you've heard the motion. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. That motion is carried. Boy, she had to work hard for that, didn't she?
Carrie, go ahead.
Chair Peterson and trustees.
Okay, Madam Secretary.
Just the substitute. Before you is action item 9C, public notice location. Per CRS 246402, the Board of Trustees will give full and timely notice to the public of any meeting at which the adoption of any proposed policy or formal action will occur, or at which a quorum of the board is expected to attend. The place of the posting will be designated annually at the board's first regular meeting of each calendar year. The recommendation is the location of Ames Community College, President's Office, Ed Beatty Hall, room 103, 5401 West 20th Street, Greeley, Colorado.
Is there a motion to adopt the public notice location?
So moved.
Thank you, Mark. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Lyle. Any discussion?
Yes. Do we ever post this on our other campuses?
It is posted on our website that it would include all campuses. It's not physically posted on the other campuses.
Is there a reason why we could not post it physically on our other campuses, especially if we're having the meeting at one of the other campuses?
As noted, when the board meeting is on another campus, it is posted at those locations as well as at the president's office. But we can certainly post all meeting notices at all campuses if you choose to do so.
So, Trustee
I know we
Carroll,
designate, the requirement is that we designate one official place, which is what this motion is doing.
Okay.
I would ask that informally we post at all of our campuses.
Okay. So in other words, that's just a suggestion.
It is not saying that that is the legal
Has to, yeah.
legally designated place, but something I would like to see happen.
The thing I wonder, isn't there a timeline associated with posting that?
It has to be posted within 24 hours of the meeting.
24 hours. So should that be said in this motion?
Well, the motion, and per the Colorado revised statutes, you do have to post it within 24 hours. That's not an option, but your option is where that location of the posting is.
Okay. So the time prior to the meeting is required by statute?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. All right, let's see, we have a motion for approval and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. That motion is carried. Next, we have policy 60. Dr. Bernstein.
At our work session last month, not last month, in December, policy 60, we needed to take a second look to make sure that we were accurate, and so we removed it from the consent agenda, and you'll see in the attachment, earlier we had 2 or more trustees will not meet outside of regularly scheduled meeting, and we did confirm that it is 3 or more will not meet outside a regularly scheduled meeting, and I can continue reading it. Or use a series of communications of any kind directly or through intermediaries to discuss, deliberate, or take action on any item of business that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board, because 3 or more comprises a quorum and would constitute a formal meeting. So thank you for asking us to go back and double check that. And now it is on the agenda for you to approve policy 60 as presented.
I will move the approval of policy 60.
Okay, it's been moved that we approve policy 60. Is there a second?
Second. Yeah.
Doesn't
matter.
I think that was Jean again.
No, Jean got there first.
Yeah, okay.
I was leaning in, but.
Any further discussion? Trustee Carroll, I think you had some questions or something?
No, not on that one.
Earlier?
No,
Oh,
not on
okay. All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. That motion is carried. Okay. Archive of ESL. Paraprofessional certificate. Dr. Kish.
Yes, thank you. We are recommending the archiving of the ESL Paraprofessional Certificate that we had discussed at the last board meeting. the board had asked for some additional information, which I've included on the action item. This was a standalone certificate. It had been grant funded, which was the driver of the enrollment. We have not had any enrollment since 2011. We had one completer back in 2011. So this has been relatively a non-existent certificate here at the college. And through our HLC requirements, we are expected to archive certificates that are no longer being active at the college. And so this is part of our effort to clean up any of those outstanding certificates, and we ask for your approval.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the archiving of ESL paraprofessional certificates?
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve agenda item number 9E, the archiving of ESL for paraprofessionals certificate.
A second.
Okay, thank you. There's been a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion has carried. Now we have, once again, Dr. Kish is in the barrel. A pre-paramedic certificate. Approval of, I believe, is what the...
So we are asking that you also approve and help us create a pre-paramedic certificate. Just as we had promised at the last meeting, we will be coming to you with certificates that we want to add, ones that we want to remove, and really it's about being relevant and providing pathways for students. And that is exactly what this certificate is. Many students want to be a paramedic, and there are quite a few prerequisites in the pathway to do that. Students sometimes don't come to our program, or they do, but this certificate really is providing them an opportunity to say that they've received all of these prerequisites and now they're ready for the paramedic program. And so it really is a pathway certificate, and so we ask for your approval of this certificate.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve this new certificate?
As a member of the healthcare delivery system in Greeley and the surrounding area, I'd be happy to move for approval of the pre-paramedic certificate.
Great to have a hands-on person involved. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, the motion is that we add the new certificate, pre-paramedic certificate. Is there further discussion? It's been moved and seconded. I'm sorry, it should do. Go ahead.
I have a question. Just for information, what are some of the prerequisites for this?
Oh, goodness. So I brought backup today. You probably could answer that, Trustee Zucker. With your permission, I'd like to invite our director, Randy Souther, to the mic, please, because he could probably list them all out.
I just wanted to put him on the spot.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's what what this was. Okay.
Thank you, Lyle.
You're welcome.
Now you're in the barrel.
So close. Those would include EMT. That's the first thing they have to have. EMT IV. They have to choose between a human disease or a bio class. And I believe that's it off the top of my head. Mandated.
A&P? No? Okay.
Nope.
So that sounds like a fairly minimal requirement, or is this does this take major time to go through those three?
Well, usually to be competitive in the process, they will need some experience in the field, but that isn't a class that they need to take as part of the pre-paramedic or paramedic prep. The pre-paramedic also adds the general education requirements for the paramedic AAS, so students wanting to go in that direction can get those out of the way before they enter the paramedic program.
Okay.
Thank you, Randy. And I'll just add, one of the reasons I asked the question, I was concerned, that's a really big commitment on the student's part as well as the college's part to put somebody through a paramedic class. So I think to see the commitment to get these prerequisite kind of establishes whether they would make a good candidate to go ahead and completing the program, in my mind. Is that accurate?
Yes, it does help with that. This creates a certificate, so hopefully it'll qualify for financial aid.
Okay.
Help those students in that pathway. And then, yes, they work with an advisor to get placed in the field, to do some work and get some experience, and help them get prepared for that and really make that determination whether this is the appropriate pathway before they make that 51 credit commitment of the paramedic program.
I don't know, I suppose there's other EMT training programs in the state. Could this certificate then be transferred, if you will, to any other program?
It would meet the prerequisites of most any paramedic program, whether it's at a college for credit or through a hospital-based program, yes.
Okay.
They're pretty consistent.
Good.
Yeah. It's mostly mandated by state requirements.
Okay.
Thank you, Randy.
Any other questions while we got him up there?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Randy.
Deb, anything else?
That is it.
Okay. You've heard the motion. We will approve this new paramedic certificate. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion is passed.
Thank you.
Okay, one other item, I'll tell you, this one sort of came out of our seminar that we had, or not seminar, retreat. And we just really felt like that there was sort of some turmoil maybe in what's going on nationally with some of the young people that we have on our campus and actually throughout the country. But I'm going to suggest that given, seems like maybe there's still some concern and some confusion and so on with this reaffirmation, I'm going to suggest that we table this until further notice. Would anybody be interested in making that motion, or? Okay, I guess we don't then. So the motion is to accept the
Affirmation.
It's too late in the day. Reaffirmation of commitment to all students and reaffirmation of our mission statement, which we worked on and voted on and everything some time back, so this is not new, but it would just be an affirmation of that. So is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve, is there a number on it? Action number 9G, to reaffirm the Ames Community College mission and commitment to the success of all students.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion or discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. That motion is carried. We have reaffirmed our commitment to all students and our mission statement. Okay, next we have comments from board members. Whoops, sorry. What did I do?
There were 2 items that we moved from consent, so if we could talk about procedure 40-01 first.
Okay, help me on that.
Sure,
I didn't.
Absolutely. So there were 2 items that you removed from consent. If we could talk about procedure 40-01 first, and I believe that was trustee Hout.
Yeah, where, do you have that?
Yes, I have it in front of me.
I'm sorry.
But I don't know.
The only question I had was the 14 days. I just want, is that request for inclusion of an item on a meeting agenda should be made no later than 14 days prior to the meeting?
Yes.
I just need some explanation on.
Yes, actually, I'm going to ask Carrie to explain that.
Not that.
Carrie, it's number
undue
1
pressure
under
on
the
it.
procedure. It says request for the inclusion of an item on a meeting agenda should be made no later than 14 days prior to the meeting. The request will be delivered to the board president or the college president. Items, excuse me, items that the board has previously voted to include in the agenda will be placed on tentative agenda. The board president will decide which additional items will be included.
Yes, trustee.
Yes,
Hout.
go ahead.
We required the deadline for agenda items 14 days before the meeting to allow the process for review by the board chair, review by the president, for the process of getting it uploaded into diligence, sent out to the board members. So it's really a 2-week time period for us to have complete review of the agenda.
And typically, the chair and you meet, what, 9-10 days before a meeting?
About a week before.
It's a week before it's sent out to the board, yes.
Okay.
We try to get the board packet out.
So that meeting occurs on day kind of 14 before the meeting, relative? or close?
On day 8, 7 or 8 before the meeting.
7 or 8.
7 or 8 before the meeting.
Correct. That's when we review it with the board chair.
I've never added anything to an agenda. I just thought that was kind of a lengthy time out in front of it.
And it also allows us to get the board packet out to board members 1 week prior to the meeting so that you all have time to read the lengthy packet and be prepared for the board meeting.
All right.
That is somewhat in conflict with item C on the agenda, however, which does allow for additions to the agenda at the meeting. So
yeah.
There's something urgent. If there is something urgent that,
You can always
that
bring
comes
it up.
there is that provision that we can amend the agenda to add something, and that has happened in the past.
Yes.
True. So you can amend it at the meeting.
Okay.
But
So
this-
it is should, request for inclusion in number 1, request for inclusion of an item on a meeting should be made. Doesn't say they have to be made. Should be made, not shall be made, should be made.
Okay.
I think that's a little wiggle room.
And I think the real critical timepiece in this is the week before the board meeting.
Correct.
So we have our packet and
No, I agree.
chance to
I agree. It helps to
study
have-
it, and, yeah. That's my
Okay.
idea anyway.
I'm good.
Mr. Chairman,
Because I'm a slow reader.
I would move the approval of Ames Community College Procedure 40-01, Board Meeting Order of Agenda. Oops, yes, that's the right one.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been to approve 40-1, I'm sorry.
Yep, 40-1.
Yes, and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. That motion carries. And again, go ahead,
Okay.
Dr. B, because I didn't write it all
Trust-
down.
yeah. Trustee Ruckel, I believe you pulled policy 42 off of consent.
Yes, this is on our parliamentary procedure, and in the first paragraph, second line, I would move to add, after Robert's Rules of Order, current edition.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
okay.
I agree.
Yeah.
So I offer that as an amendment to, unless everybody's willing to accept it as a friendly amendment,
Can we just do that as maybe a technical
it would be a friendly,
correction?
it would be called a friendly amendment that nobody objects to.
Any objection to that?
No.
Okay.
Then
we'll-
I would move the adoption of Ames Community College Policy 42, Parliamentary Procedure, as amended.
Okay,
Second.
motion has been to approve and is seconded. Any discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. That motion is carried.
Thank you.
Okay? Is that clean it up?
Yep.
Okay. All right, now move on to comments from board members. And since we're not going to have the learning cube, I guess we're
You're on your own.
open to saying anything we want. We did do a learning cube at our retreat. I think that was a learning cube, wasn't it?
Yep.
Which was sort of a fun game to be posed questions that you needed to answer to help the other board members understand who you are and what you're about and various things like that. So let's start with Lyle. Lyle, any comments for board members?
Well, as always, I'm incredibly proud of the work product that we all put out here at Ames Community College and the teamwork it takes. I want to thank Michael for the tour of the facility today. It's incredible. You should be incredibly proud, you and all of your staff. I remember being here, as I'm sure Randy does, when the original footprint was here back in the late 70s, early 80s, and it's an incredible improvement over that building. But very, very functional. I think it's done with a lot of planning, a lot of efficiency and effectiveness. Congratulations. The meeting itself, I think, went very, very well. And I'll just address one of the other things. I think we did everything right. I think we certainly had the information that we needed in order to make the decisions that we made here today. The discussion was open and honest and forthright, and I always appreciate that. So I think it was a great meeting. We did good work here today. Thank you.
You've already answered part A on 11.
I meant to do that.
Gene, how about you?
Well, as a new trustee attending this board meeting, I want to express my appreciation for a very well-planned agenda. And to go a step further, to say the agenda is well-planned, it moves, it provides a lot of content, and it moves very effectively through each of those agenda items because of the preparation time that I think you all put into those agenda items. It's very impressive, and I appreciate the hard work that it takes to put an agenda that complex together and make it move as smoothly as it does. Good job.
Great. Carol?
Just a couple of things. January is kind of a quiet month, but I would like to thank Dr. B and Trustee Oxiger for coming to the Fort Lupton Annual Chamber Dinner. I think a good time was had by all. I don't really get to attend that because my service club does the serving and cleanup and all of that. So while they're enjoying the comedian of the evening, I'm in the kitchen doing dishes.
So if we need somebody to serve a banquet, I highly recommend.
Yeah, we're good. We're very good. We cater. We do that. Yeah.
And also do the dishes. I mean,
that's right.
Man, what a deal, huh?
Sonia referenced this, but the show at the Toynton Gallery, Principled, was really amazing. And I would just encourage trustees and everybody, when we have something like that, to go and attend. I mean, it's wonderful promotion for the college, and it was really a super show. And there's also a good show in our own gallery. I don't know if we've missed the opening for that, if they were rescheduling it. I don't know if it's happened again, but that's really got some wonderful work too of our own folks. It's nice to see our own talent on display.
We're as a board so fortunate to have so much support from you, from the staff and the faculty, the students. Everybody's got a flashlight, so if we're in the dark, there's a couple flashlights. Here you go. And I just feel fortunate as a board member that, if you don't know something, there's like 29 people you can ask that will know a lot more.
And they will know.
And they will know.
Yeah.
And they'll get that flashlight out and say, here, read this. This is what we have in front of us, or this is our role, and this is our job. We're here as observers on all those flashlights. And we do appreciate it. I know all the board members do appreciate that when you bring it out and you say, here's where we're at financially, here's where we're at academically, here's some of our frustrations, here's some of our goals, here's some of our values. How we look at ourselves as a college. And I'm so proud of that. Thank you.
And our values have already, the press release on our values adopted by the board has already gone out, 4:42 p.m. So, hey.
Outstanding.
It's already in my inbox.
Outstanding.
What? Other comment?
No.
No? Okay. Well, I certainly agree with all the comments that have been made. I say it every time, but I just think this is just a wonderful institution. I think, boy, the taxpayers of Well County, students and everybody is getting their money's worth. I just think it's great. One other thing that, an event that occurred last month, was the North Colorado Medical Center Gala. Is that right? Okay, and Dr. B, Mark, and I attended that, and quite an event for the community, and I would assume they probably raked in some dollars with their silent auction.
They spent a few, but they rake it in.
Yeah, right. So anyway, assessment of board meetings. Does anybody want to? I mean, it sounds like we've sort of. Lyle already did the first one, and Mark did the second one, sort of oversight, strategies, challenges, information. I think we always receive the information. It just seems like second nature. And if we don't, then we'll just say, well, let's hold that for a while, and we'll get it again, or do it again. So, anybody?
Well, I think the board always strives for reasonable continuity amongst one another. And when we feel rough edges, we try to figure those out and work through those. And you might not see those, you may or not, but we don't always agree, but we can challenge our thoughts in a proactive, positive manner. And that's important to this board for me. It helps keep my balance there. And, communication is important. I'm glad we changed 3 to 2, because that helps us too from time to time when you need someone else to listen to in the room other than yourself. Talk all the time. When you put 3 in there, it eliminates the issue. So that's good, that we can have that conversation with someone other than the closet door. So that's,
those are in there, and I think it's great that we look at them at every meeting, and everybody knows they're there. And so it's kind of a guideline on how to conduct our meetings. So I think we're all aware of it, cognizant of it, everybody in the room. So I think we really make an effort to make sure we do all those things. But I still, nevertheless, I think it's a great thing to check it at the end and make sure, did we miss anything? And if so, that's the opportunity to bring it out so we get better. So.
Okay. Yeah, it's a constant self-evaluation.
It is.
And that's good. So, anything else? Okay, I guess we'll adjourn to executive session according to CRS 246402, paren 4, paren F, to executive session to discuss personnel matters and some real estate. We will adjourn now to executive session. We will adjourn the official board meeting after that. I don't think there's anything that we would want to return for or will need to return for. So if you feel like you want to leave, go do it. Okay, Sarah wants to leave, I can tell. Okay, I'm sorry.
I wasn't sure if we needed a motion, but I guess we need a motion in there. So.
I think we do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Make a motion.
I move that we adjourn into executive session.
Second. All in favor,
You
aye.
didn't get it?
Aye.